Today's guest is someone who built his business in public, from cold calling mortgages to launching a multi-seven-figure e-commerce brand with no employees. He went from tech sales engineer to hitting $50,000 a month on the side before going all in. In this episode, we break down how he built a supplement company from scratch, why testing demand first is critical, and how he turned an alcohol alternative into a fast-growing brand. We also get into the messy parts, product missteps, supply chain issues, and what it really takes to keep going. You'll hear his philosophy on figuring things out as you go, leveraging AI to stay lean, and why marketing is most of the game.
Hey everyone, welcome to Business Unchained, where entrepreneurs and business owners come together to power up on their journey to greatness. My name is Bobby Mascia, owner of many businesses, including my passion, a wealth management firm that specializes in helping entrepreneurs. My life totally changed when I made a conscious decision to design my businesses to run themselves, not me and my time. If you're looking to get unchained from your business, make more money, and have more time, listen to the experiences of other successful entrepreneurs here on Business Unchained.
Bobby Mascia is the founder and CEO of Greenridge Wealth Planning. All opinions expressed by Bobby and his guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinion of Greenridge Wealth Planning. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for any financial decisions. Clients of Greenridge Wealth Planning may maintain positions in any securities discussed in this podcast.
Please welcome the founder of the Outgoing Company, TJ Bongiorno.
If you haven't sold a product to somebody online who doesn't know who you are, how good is that feeling? I love that video. I thought that was great.
Outside of having a kid and getting married, it's the best thing I've ever felt in my life. Think about how crazy it is. Some random person saw your thing, went and made a conscious decision to give you their money, and you get the alert on your phone. It's like, oh my God, I can do this. And I don't know what your path was. I do know a little bit about it, but your path was like working and then going to do your own thing.
Yeah.
Like for me, it was something I always dreamed about. And then when it came real, like the Shopify notification on my phone, I was like, oh my God. And then it's just addicting. And we went from there.
Yeah, I would almost relate that to, in my world, how I felt when I got my first referral. Somebody who said, I trust this guy. You need to trust this guy. Like that is it makes you feel like you're doing something right.
I mean, there's no more real compliment than I gave this guy my money. He did the right thing. You should give him your money too.
All right, let's go into this. You said you didn't start wanting to do your own thing. I think we need to get a little bit into who you are, what you're doing, how you're doing it, because then when we start to dig into the particulars, it's going to make a lot more sense if people understand your message and where you came from. So Hit me off, dude.
So first and foremost, I was like good at school, but once I got to college, I was like, I'm done. And then I graduated and I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, oh my God.
Listen, you should have heard Donnie's episode.
Yeah, I'm sure. I was like, oh my God, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And it just so happened that one of my friends was a mortgage loan officer. So I went and I was slinging mortgages. I was cold calling sheets and walking into realtor offices and trying to get referrals.
That's real sales work.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it turned me off to sales a little bit. Even though I was good at it, I was like, oh my God, I can't do this.
No, it's super transactional.
Yeah. And we don't have to go through my whole life story, but the quick version is I actually went in 2016 to a coding boot camp. I learned how to code. I learned how to like build front end apps and whatnot. And then that's how I got into tech. I had a career.
What made you do that? Like what got you amped up to go and do that?
I was always what I like to refer to as a closet nerd.
Okay.
Like
Were you building computers and shit in your closet?
Yeah, I have a custom PC and like I was always dabbling with stuff, but it was always something that I think that your self-belief is like the most important thing. If you have a paradigm about yourself that you don't think you can do something, I had an unlock where I was like, oh, I messed with some code and I was like, oh, I can do this.
Oh, your negative self-talk.
Yeah. And then I went through and I was like, oh, I can do this. And then I ended up going to that coding boot camp. I got my first job in tech. I worked in tech up until 2024. And starting in 2023, I started this business on the side. Mm-hmm. So I was what's called a sales engineer. It's like a technical salesperson. And I just was on the internet watching YouTube videos, doing whatever. And I was like, oh, I can do this. And I started building. I'm just going to say this for purposes of the conversation. I got to about $50,000 a month in sales while I was working full time. Mm-hmm. And that was the first moment where I was like, oh, I could probably start to think about quitting now. And then we can get into later.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Raising funds. Yeah, but it was a crazy experience.
You know, we had the book launch and one of the questions.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much. One of the questions that came from the audience was a gentleman who he was working in corporate America And he says, I've been really looking to start my own business and I've got a great idea. I want to get off the ground and going, but what would you give me advice to do as like my first step moving away from corporate world to entrepreneurialism? And I was like, dude, I'm going to give you the Nike approach. Just do it. Like you just got to do it. You can't think about it. You can't overplan. You can't wait for that perfect moment. Sometimes you just got to go, all right, boom, hit the button. Let's go.
100%. So I don't know if the audience, a lot of people are on X, Twitter. That's where I have my audience. I have like, I think almost 18,000 followers there, 17 and change. But I built my business in public there. So there's a lot of like isms, TJ isms or whatever that people will hear me say on X. And I shared like the whole journey, but I'm notorious for saying like figure it the fuck out ability. Like that is number one. Number one is like, can you take a concept, go YouTube it, Google it, look at Reddit or whatever, and then go try it and then go ask somebody versus like, how do I set up meta ads? I don't want to sound like a jerk, but like if somebody asked me that question, I'm like,
figure it the fuck out.
Or at least try. Ask me a tactical question. Say, hey, I made the account. I have the video, but I'm unsure of how to actually upload it and like change the description on the ad versus how do I set it up? There's like a huge difference in those in terms of like, self-agency and whatnot.
So many people, they think they need to have the process down perfect before they go. And half of the fun is the figure it the fuck out part.
Yeah.
It's like, I have an idea. I have somewhat of an idea how I want to get from point A to point B, but I don't really know how it's going to turn out. And I might get halfway there and go, shit, this was the wrong way. Let me pivot. But you have to go through that process or another 5 times. Right?
Yeah.
So you were sitting there creating your own YouTube channel. You're looking at this. You're like, I could do it. You got up to 50,000 a month. What was the product? What was it that you were selling? Or were you just selling yourself at that point?
No, all of it is related to the supplement. So I've always been like what you would call, I guess, a gym bro. Like I was, started lifting weights.
Yeah, buddy.
But supplements come with that, right? I was taking creatine and protein and stuff in high school. And like, it was always in that world, Jack 3D, when they were selling drugs in GNC. That's a TBT right there.
Jack 3D.
You don't remember Jack, the pre-workout that had like meth in it?
Oh, dude, what was that crap that we used to take before not Red? Did you really just say Red Bull?
This is way more extreme.
It was literally ephedrine, right?
Why can't I think right now? But it does start with an E. Ephedrine.
Ephedrine. It was literally ephedrine. And it was in college, and we used to take it before workouts. We used to take it before we went out.
I think Jack had it in it too. Yeah. But it was basically meth.
Yeah.
And they were selling it just in vitamin shops.
Oh, yeah.
But like I came from that period of like being into this stuff, and I've always like biohacked. So I was always like kind of supplement adjacent, something I was interested in. And I actually, how they say like this next book, this podcast is not what's going to be the next thing you need. I had one of those moments though. I read an article that just like demystified the process of starting a supplement. And it turns out like you don't actually need any certifications. The manufacturer has all the certifications, right? Like they're good manufacturing practices and FDA approval and all that stuff. You're basically in America, you can go to a manufacturer and say, hey, this is the product I want to make. They can make it for you, make sure it's up to standard, get the testing and whatnot. And then you could just be basically like the distributor of a supplement brand. And I was like, oh, okay. That's the biggest piece for me that was like unlocked.
So you're not part of the actual chemistry of it. You are part of here's my vision of what I want. And can you produce this for me?
It's
like,
different.
Talk to me a little bit about
It's different now. So now like I'm working with an R&D house and like I'm in the weeds with them on the phone talking about like which sweetener we're using and where we're sourcing from and the cost of everything and whatnot. But like when you're first starting, you can just go to some of these manufacturers and be like, yeah, how much does it cost for me to make a protein powder that tastes like chocolate and doesn't use fake sugar? And like they'll come and they'll be like, oh, it's $15 a tub, and you're gonna go sell it for $50 and arbitrage that and try and make money on that 35. Basically, what I'm getting at is there's levels to it, and also it drastically depends on your MOQ, your minimum order quantity. If I come in with now we place huge orders. Everyone takes a lot more care of me than when I was like, hey, I have $5,000 to buy my first one. Like they're very different conversations.
So what was the goal? You're doing 50,000 a month and you look at this, you say, I could do it. And now you're going to go and you're going to do it on your own.
There's a year and a half between when I started and that happened. So a couple of like really important points. I think that it doesn't get talked about enough that you should test demand. Like a lot, now that I'm somebody who has like a brand and a company, everyone I know or that has any ambition is like, I got an idea. And I'm like, great. And I will help you. but please don't go.
Peptide shrink?
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But please don't go wasting your $50,000 in savings buying a bunch of inventory on something that's completely not tested and you don't know if there's a market for it. Now, if you're going to make toilet paper and instead of 4-ply, you're going to do 5-ply, that's a little bit different, right? We know that everybody wipes
there's
their
a
butt.
market.
Yeah. But if
Now
you're
you got to find the angle of why people are going to pay the premium for 5-ply.
But that's easy. That's just iteration.
Mhm.
If you're making a brand new product or trying to like do an invention, please, for the love of God, don't go spend your money. So in my case, I had this idea, and alcohol alternatives were starting to become a thing in like 2022, 2023. People were starting to talk about how we're drinking less and nootropics and whatnot, but it was definitely like a little risky. So in
22, that was right after COVID.
Yeah.
I think America or the world was at the height of drinking.
Yeah, it went like,
oh man.
But I did see the trend starting a little bit. And then in my own life, I kind of experienced it too. And like, I'm not anti-alcohol, like you should never drink.
Yeah.
I think there should be a third option, but I digress. So April of 23, I launched a pre-sale. And I just wanted to test if there was demand. I had some influencers, I did some Facebook ads and whatnot. And from April of 23 to July of 23, when I actually shipped product, we sold $12,000 of product. Now,
what was the test? Did you just go out and say, I'm going to create a campaign and I'm going to go out? Did you A/B test it to say, hey, listen, what if I could do it this way versus what I do it that way? Like, what was the first foray into getting this out to market?
I set it up as if the product fully existed. Like, this is live. You can buy it right now. This is the angles that we're going with. This is what it does. Like basically the same way that I would do it if I launched.
Mm-hmm.
I just changed instead of buy now to pre-sale. And I gave like a little bit of discount, which actually was a mistake. I think that if you're going to test demand, you shouldn't discount it because
now you don't know what the price point is.
You don't know if it's valid. But regardless, I still was able to test to make sure anybody even wanted it. And also, the whole company cost about $42,000 to start. I was able to recoup 12 of that 42 right before I even had the product in hand.
That's huge.
That was 25% plus, almost 30% of the money back. So that was huge. But then I knew there was demand. I was like, okay, we can run with this. In July, I shipped my first orders. And then for that whole first year, I did mostly like old school influencer marketing where it's like, use code Bobby10 to get a promotion discount and using people's audiences. We were pushing for that whole year. We sold about $100,000 in July of 23. That was my first year. And I was like, okay, I think there's something real here because I wasn't really spending a lot of money on ads. It was like super profitable. Mm-hmm. And then like from 2024 on was when we really started getting into like Facebook ads and whatnot. And that's when things get like really hard because the cost to acquire a customer just keeps going up. I don't want to rant about this too much, but the point I want to get to is we got it off the ground. We had proof of concept and then we started to push in 24. 24 was what I was talking about. By the end of the year, we were getting up to like $50,000 months. That was about a year and change of being established. And that's when I raised some money.
What were some of the hardest things that you faced in that first year, getting it off the ground, knowing that you had a lot to learn and a lot of tripping was going to happen? What was the one thing that was maybe a shock to you that you went through?
Well, I think you and I are very similar in that we have big networks. We have a lot of friends and family and whatnot that we're close with. First off, it's embarrassing. Like I'm fucking yapping in a camera, 30 something years old. Like I already lost my hair.
You have to take your ego, like crumple it up, throw it away and go, let's think about what they're going to think about me after I've been successful. Let people judge. But then when I'm successful, that perception is going to change.
They'll say, what are you doing until they ask how you did it, right? Like the corny cliche. But like all jokes aside, you have to just accept that like someone's probably sending your video in a group chat going, look at this bimbo until it works. And I just, I threw that out the window. And also like, dude, your product sucks at first. I don't care if unless you have like millions in funding out of the gate, like your product sucks. The first version of my product, I'm proud of it, but I'm so embarrassed. Like it tasted so bad and like this and that. And then we iterated. I'm like the fourth version now, but you have to swallow that pride. You have to just be like, I'm doing this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to look silly.
Were people coming back to you with feedback going, this tastes like shit. I want my money back.
Of course.
Yeah.
Honestly, like it was pretty positive overall, but it's hardest when you have it like somebody in the room with you, right? Like it's one thing if on the internet you get a negative review, I could just delete it or whatever. But like if I give it to someone in this room, I let you try my product and you're like, like that's hard. It's hard to just swallow.
It's delicious.
Yeah. Oh, love it. Yeah. Why didn't you finish? Oh, I'll do it later. Like there was instances of that. So I think that was probably the hardest part.
So now you're on iteration 4
about, yeah.
Now you working with the same producer or manufacturer, or like, what does that look like
I
for
changed.
you?
I used to go overseas. Now it's US made. That was like a big change I
Oh,
wanted
that's
to do.
got to be huge for you.
Yeah, we're not going to get into politics, but tariffs worked. So I went from going overseas to now it's US made for that purpose. Also, I think people really like that, made in the USA.
I think that most people in the United States feel like our standards are higher, unless it's coming from Europe, where some people go, oh, okay, Europe has really high food standards. But when you start getting into these Asian countries, it becomes a little bit more questionable. I think people, don't feel as confident.
100%. The fun part is, though, everybody's sourcing from China. It all comes from
Mhm.
China. Like at the end of the day, like Russia has some and like a few other countries, but for the most part, everything, peptides, everything that everyone's getting, it all we can talk about that later, but everything's coming from China. In my own case, because I knew that was something that people were going to feel, because I feel it myself, I like paid every single batch, like multiple thousands of dollars to have it third party tested. So I like paid a third party lab so that I could have that on my website and be like, hey, there's no lead in this. There's no fentanyl, like making sure like everything was clear, and it was a very reputable lab as well.
Well, you're ingesting it. You're putting it into your body with the hopes that it's going to do something beneficial for your body. Why would you even, once you start to question where it's sourced and the legitimacy of it, it's over.
I think that's probably the hardest part about the supplement industry. There's a lot of like actual snake oil. There's a lot of people like scamming, and they do like illegal subscriptions and like all kinds of shady stuff. Like I run a subscription focused business, right?
Mhm.
But it says subscribe and save on the website. You get an email confirmation you are subscribed 3 days before you're going to be charged again. You get, hey, reminder, you're going to be charged again. You can go on the website and opt out at any moment. You can pause, skip, cancel. You know how many people don't do this, or brands don't do this, I should say? There are brands that are doing 9 figures, huge brands that people know, and they do all kinds of shady stuff like that. I think they're just like calculating that the FTC won't come after them, or if they do, the fine is worth less than, how much profit they can make. It's a wild world.
Did you talk to me a little bit about the iteration in the product,
Sure.
because we started talking about a alcohol alternative.
Yes.
And what I'd love to know is a little bit about the science of how you got from where you were when you first started and to where you are now.
Yeah. So I will say, even out the gate, the actual formula was extremely effective and potently dosed. So like in terms of effect, we've never had any qualms or questions about if the product worked. I hired like a really, really good chemist, biohacker type, that like made sure everything was clinically dosed and it worked. Taste and flavor and those things were the issue, or things that came up. I shouldn't say issue, but it always worked. Now, to answer your question, like how did we get there?
Now, when the taste and the flavor was an issue, did you think about going capsule format, or was it not something that you could capsulize? You had to drink it, or what was?
So I did do that. I actually had a capsule version for
Okay.
a while. The problem is that in order to get like an effective dosage,
I think 20 of them.
yeah, like the biggest, the horse capsules, like the biggest capsule you see,
Yeah.
that's like 700 to 800 milligrams of powder that can hold, a little bit less than a gram.
Mm-hmm.
The formula was like 5 or 6 grams total. So like that would have been 6, 7 pills, and who was doing that?
Oh my God.
So
I know.
yeah, no one wants that.
So the science of it, where you started, with the product, and now, and the thought process behind it, you had a mission. You talked a little bit about third alternative to alcohol, and I know you've evolved now, even changing the brand name. So I want to get into a little bit of those particulars.
Sure.
About the actual product itself, and how you thought about what you wanted to offer to the world, how you were going to market it, and some of the things that you came across and learned from as you started to develop this thing.
Sure. So why do you have a couple drinks when we go to a happy hour? When I come to, one of your events, why do I have a drink or two on occasion? It's to chill, right?
It's funny because my son, my oldest son, he's 16 years old.
Yeah.
And he has liver disease and a couple of autoimmune diseases. So he literally cannot drink. And I had that conversation with him as recently as the last week. And I said to him, like, listen, when I grew up, drinking was just something you did. And now in a social setting, it almost feels awkward to not have a drink. It's not because I need a drink. It's not because I want a drink. It's just because socially, it's what I've been doing for the past, I don't know, I'm going to age myself, 35
For a while.
For a long time. So, I think most people say, I want to do it to relax. I want to do it to like break the ice. And, for me, it's pure social habit.
And it is.
And I feel like shit the next day. And I go, what the hell am I drinking anyway? And then the next weekend we're out at dinner and it's like, oh, let's get a bottle of wine.
Every time. I would like the record to show. I also have a cocktail when I go out to dinner with my wife. I do like a glass of Italian red here and there. It's not like I'm a no alcohol.
No, we went out after golf and had a couple drinks.
Exactly. Because to your point, like when it's just a small group too, like everyone's like, yeah, I'll get a beer. I'm like, yeah, I'll get a Diet Coke. I'm like, but also that is what I'm trying to solve for, is a not embarrassing third option. And when I say embarrassing, a socially acceptable third option.
Mm-hmm.
And then to the point made, to a little happier, a little giddier. Like if we can actually use nootropic compounds and adaptogens, things that can elevate your mood in a real way, not like fugazi fake stuff. That's what we're after. And honestly, like, I know obviously I'm biased. It works. Like what I made works. I know you want to talk about like how I iterated and how I got here, but it's just really cool that you can use science and like there is kind of like this third way that you can go about it. So you asked the question before about how did I iterate through it? How did I figure out what worked?
Yeah, because I even know like for my business, for the businesses that I operate, we start one place and it just naturally evolves. Things change a little bit. You learn a little bit more. You see a little bit more, you get input from the market and you adjust accordingly. Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, it's a really good leading question because this happened directly. So we had a formula that worked. We launched it. Flavor was a little bit difficult. A double whammy was ashwagandha. That's something that a lot of people know about, a lot of people take. There's also a lot of concerns about liver toxicity with ashwagandha. There's a lot of concerns about anhedonia, like it numbs your emotions and can make you kind of like. So there was a lot of negative feedback coming with ashwagandha. It also happens to taste like shit. So we were like, all right, get it out. It was expensive too. We were like, all right, remove it from the formula. So iteration 1 was removing ashwagandha and improving the flavors with the removed ashwagandha. So then we had a formula that instead of 7 ingredients, it had 6. We just upped the dosages of 1 or 2 other of the ingredients that were existing. That was version 2. Version 2 came out. It was good, but you made the point about capsules. We figured out that with the removal of ashwagandha, we could get it down to 4 capsules. So then I also released a capsule version of it without any flavoring. I call that 2.53, whatever, version 3. Now, the latest version, the one Audi for the Outgoing Co with the trademarks, and we can talk about trademarks in a second and why that happened. But the 4th version of the product, we realized that 2 of the ingredients were potentially going to be banned. It's not that they weren't safe, but like sometimes this just happens where they're flagged by the FDA or WADA banned one of them. So like they were not banned for regular people, but they were banned for professional athletes.
Oh, okay.
So like there's certain compounds, by the way, good sign that it actually works if they're banning it for professional athletes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you can't take this because it works. But 2 of the ingredients there. So we're like, all right, let's reconfigure it again. We also switched to US manufacturing, which changed what was available and like, the risk factors and whatnot. And that's how we got to our current iteration of the formula, which actually has 10 different actives in it right now. It complicates things, but.
So as you were going through that, what were some of the inherent risks, business risks that you took when you, that maybe worked out or didn't work out? What was the thought process as you went through this? Was it just, listen, we got to make some changes and blow through this? Or were there some serious distribution risks or inventory risk or market risk? Like what were some of the things that were concerns that were yours going into it?
First and foremost, you know what the Dunning-Kruger effect is?
I don't.
It's when you're so ignorant about something that you think you're good at it. Because you don't know what you don't know to such a degree that you actually think you're good. Like somebody who plays golf for the first time and they like hit a couple drives that go far. They're like, I'm good at golf. You actually have know so little about golf that you think you're good kind of deal.
Yeah. I
think that was me. I knew so little about the risks that I was taking and making these huge swings and huge changes at the time because I was learning on the fly that I think it like made me think like, yeah, I'm a genius. I can do this. I can figure this out. But first and foremost, the biggest risk is your existing customers. You have a product. I had tens of thousands of customers at this point. It wasn't like I happened to have been good at marketing so that the business was working. But I was like, oh shit, like I'm just going to change this. Yeah. It's like, imagine if Coca-Cola all of a sudden tastes like Sprite. Like I'm making.
But in your case, it tastes like shit. Now it tastes better.
Yeah. But the point is just like you have people that actually like the taste. And then like, so that's risk number 1. Risk number 2, I switched from a whole manufacturer. Everything could have gone wrong. Pricing was different. Managing cash flow, timelines. Another thing, when I switched to the US, there's a reason why people get things manufactured in China. It was like a third of the time to get it delivered, even from China compared to the US. People are slow. The level of customer service wasn't the same. Now I'm in a good place. Everything's good. I have a new manufacturer that's good with customer service and whatnot. We fleshed all this out. But at the time, it was like there was like 10 different ways that this could have made the business fail by making all these changes and making all these switches.
What were the pains that you felt throughout that process? Did you feel any hits or?
Hell yeah. So when all the tariff stuff was going on over the summer, something that was also happening was at the docks for customs, they were holding stuff because Trump was going up and down with what he was going to set the tariffs at. So they were like, oh yeah, we found oranges in your container that we're going to hold it for a little while. No, it isn't. You want to see if he's going to go from a 25% tax to 100% tax and if you could cash out more. That's a big accusation, but it affected me deeply. So I'm a little salty about it because I had like a single bedroom house worth of products sitting in a container for like 7 months that I couldn't access. That I was almost in a bad place because I was running out of product. I actually just talked about this on a podcast yesterday, like a scrappy startup-y thing. I hand wrote, no AI, no automations, an email to every single customer that was waiting on product while that was going on, saying like, I am so sorry. I am the founder. This is actually TJ. We're going to get you the product as soon as we can, or we'll refund you, like whatever, try and resolve it. But that was like the biggest one, was like the turmoil of US was going too slow to make the new product. I couldn't get it in from China because of all the tariff stuff and all the custom stuff. And I'm stuck in a situation where I have customers asking me, where's my order? And I was expecting it 7 weeks prior. And that was a messy situation. We're through it now, but looking back on it, I was like, whew.
Even like, we've been through such supply constraints and, fortunately you started this in, you said 22.
Yeah. 23. Yeah. 22.
23. I mean, we're going even back through COVID, like the supply constraints, things getting caught up at the dock. That's been an issue, increasing inflation because supply and demand always is a big component of that. I know even for me, my wife bought me a present for Christmas and it came from overseas. And we just got a bill from FedEx because the tax for the tariff came due, and they pushed it to you instead of paying pushing it to me. Yeah, and they're like, hey, listen, we at customs, you got to pay us back, and we're like, all right,
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, even still, like websites like Fabletics and stuff. Anyone that's getting their stuff made overseas, you'll see if you look at your checkout, like pay attention. There's like a $3.99 or a $4.99 that they're throwing in there as like a tariff tax. They're still throwing it in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the tax, right? So when you look at so we're through the tariff issue, you're now all U.S. domestic, you're up and running, everything just flows through. Is all your marketing, social media, everything flows through the website? Do you have any brick and mortar? Like, what does your business actually look like?
So to get into some jargon, D2C is what we refer to as selling directly on the website. Direct to consumer? Yeah, direct to consumer. That's, when someone says that, they're referring to, I put ad on internet, someone clicks ad, goes to website, buys. Then we have Amazon as another channel. Amazon, for anybody who wants to sell something online, you need an Amazon listing. It doesn't cost you anything. Like, yeah, they take fees and whatnot, but you have a 10 to 30% spillover from your ads that's going to go to Amazon, because think about it, right? How much I do most of my shopping on Amazon. Do you do most of your shopping on Amazon?
Most of my shopping.
Most people are like that. So they're going to see
the reason why is if there's any return or tracking shipping or just centralizing
Prime free shipping too.
It just goes right into one spot. And so many times, I'm you say that and I go right to so many times I've been on the website ready to purchase and I'm like, let me see if Amazon has it. This way I know when I'm going to get it. It comes to me. If I have an issue, I know how to return it. I don't have to play the bullshit game.
100%. And it's funny, like I'm on the other end of that and I'm getting people like wanting to return. It was 30 seconds late. I need a return. Like, yeah, pal, sure, whatever. But jokes aside, like it's necessary evil because like you said, it's like 30% spillover plus from your ads. So if I'm running Facebook ads, I'm spending a couple thousand a day. And even if I'm breaking even there, you could have all your profit coming from Amazon, just from that spillover. Excuse me. And then we do TikTok shop as well, which I guess is considered a separate channel.
Okay.
We have no brick and mortar at this moment, but at the time of us recording this, 2 days from now, I have a canned version of the product that's going to run its first run. So it's going to be like a 12-ounce skinny can, just like a Red Bull or whatnot.
That's the drink version, yeah.
The drink version is called Yapper. It's going to be just a functional energy drink kind of with like
Yapper.
Yapper, baby.
Outgoing and Yapper.
You know exactly what we're doing. We want you out and having fun, and we're making products for that. But that's going to be the first time that we try to go into retail.
Interesting.
That'll be a retail forward play.
Okay.
If I'm going to be honest, there's no hiding it. The biggest multiples that are coming right now for exits are for beverages. If you can make beverage work, you can get like 5+ times top line revenue, not EBITDA revenue, if you can get a beverage to work. So we're like, well, it just so happens that we could take this swing. And
now, can your manufacturer deal with the distribution and everything?
No, completely different one.
Completely different.
So just to demystify some of that, I have an R&D house. I pay them a couple $1,000 per flavor. They work with me. They send me samples, small batch. So
those are your flavors, your trademark.
I own that formula. Yeah. You can't really patent.
No, but the formula of like.
Yeah, but
flavor,
I own it. I own it. You can get like the flavor code and everything and whatnot.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's mine. Then I take that for the beverage. There is it's actually in Jersey, a co-packer that they did, Prime. When Prime dropped like the Paul brothers, like they were the first ones to run that. Alani Nu, which is like a multi-billion-dollar energy drink, they started with this company. They expanded past them, but it's a reputable co-packer. So the R&D guys connected me with them. They sent the raw ingredients there. They're co-packing that for me. They're running it this week. For the powder that we sell, I have a manufacturer that's kind of like an all-in-one, but I'm working with the R&D right now to reconfigure some of the formula. We'll send them it and say, hey, what's this going to cost us? They'll source all the raw ingredients and everything. The beauty of that is when you're working with a big manufacturer like that, in this game, you need terms. So I have like 30 terms where I'm putting 30% down as a deposit, and then I owe the rest of the 30 days after it lands. That gives me time for my subscriptions to carry over and that cash to come in so I can float it and do it that way. Really, really important to set things up like that. Cause like if they were just like 50-50 on delivery, like it's really hard to make that cash flow work in this business. And then from there, once it's done, it's then sent to a warehouse in Wisconsin. That's a 3PL warehouse that we use. That is connected fully to Shopify and Amazon and everything. So every order comes in, it goes through our system, it goes to them. They handle all the shipping out.
So they do all the logistics.
I don't touch anything.
Great.
It's actually kind of funny. There's like a real big cognitive dissonance. You know how like you eat a steak, you forget that it's a cow. Yeah. Like I do all this business, but like I don't actually see a lot of it. It's kind of weird. Like with all my business, like it's just like there, Fugazi in the cloud. Like it's not real. It's so funny.
Have you gone out to Wisconsin to check out the distribution center?
I just switched to them. The one that I had in Jersey, that previously I had looked at, but I haven't gone to Wisconsin yet. I will in the near future, but also there, I have partners and advisors that I work with that are like 10 times bigger than my business, and they use them too. And they were like, they're crushing it for us. I was like, all right, I trust you. Yeah, we're good.
We skipped the validation of,
they had the social proof.
Trust but verify, like you don't have to go and verify. You've got the proof from your advisors.
And they're way meaner than me. So if they're good, I'm good.
Every once in a while you get to ride those coattails. It's definitely a path of lesser resistance.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually probably the most important thing is finding people who are doing this. Like I'm sure you experience it too. Like when you're around a majority of people that are working, this is not downplaying anybody who's working. I'm not like talking down, but it's very, very different. Life is very different. And if you don't have other entrepreneurs or people doing this to talk to, it's like, I don't want to use the word lonely, but it's a weird, it's lonely
thing. Now, how did you connect with these people?
All with my Twitter following. Yeah. All like X is like LinkedIn without HR. I could say this is fucking stupid on X. But that allowed me, like I have CEOs and founders and everyone that follows me, like really big accounts, just because I like built in public and talk there freely. And it's really cool too, because like it's unfiltered me. Like if you follow me on X, like it's TJ, I'm going to say like, that's fucking stupid and quote it. And like, how I feel. And if you like that, you can follow me. And that's led me to my investor I met there, my advisors, almost every business contact I have, all the agencies I have, everyone I met there. Because otherwise, like, my friends, I love them. My family, I love everyone, but like they don't know anything about this.
Yeah.
So I had to go find my people.
What was the vision of this when you started versus the evolution to the vision that you have now?
I would say that the biggest thing is the size and scale that I was thinking about. I went from like, hopefully I can make $1 million to I want to sell this for 200 million kind of like thing. And I'm saying those numbers, like clip that. But the point is just the scale, especially once I got access to capital and investment. I have an individual. It's not an institution. He has like institutional money, but he doesn't want to be named. But once he got on board, he saw the potential and then started to like open my eyes. And then now we've had the success that we're having and the scale that we're having. I was like, oh, I can really start to think about this in like a much bigger way. So I think that it went from, this is some small thing I'm going to try and maybe I can make some money, to like, I'm trying to get rich as hell.
Well, you know, I'm going to go back to my kids again, because I said to them something similar to what you just, you know, addressed, is when you hang around people who think small, you're going to be small.
Yeah.
Kind of like when you hang around with derelicts, you are who you hang around with. You're going to be a derelict. But when you hang around people who are working hard, who have big, you know, big ideas and are thinking big, and they're executing and they're talking to people, they're expanding their network, they're doing all of the right things, then you're going to be doing the same thing. And you're going to find that even those people early on in your career are going to change out, and they're going to change out again, and they're going to change out again, as long as you keep with that abundance mindset, that growth mindset. But if you start limiting yourself, you're going to start hanging out with people who are limited as well. So,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes it takes somebody to just break you out of your own, you know, false ceiling to, you know, to start to think like that.
Yeah. And also, I think it's really important. I say this with love. I'll put us both in the same category. We're smart guys, but like, we're just regular people. Like, we're not like, there's no like genius here, right? Like,
Speak for yourself, bro. No, I'm just kidding.
no, but I'm saying like, I will speak for myself.
No, it's
like,
it's the balls to do
I grew
it.
up on Staten Island. I went to like regular school. I didn't go to a crazy college. I had no trust fund, right? Like, I just figured this shit out while I was working. And I think that's really important for people to see. There's no lying. There's no hide. Like, I just worked, built this on the side from 5 to 9 at night for a year and a half. It started to work, and then I left.
Yeah, but you know what's funny about that? The people who go to these really, you know, phenomenal institutions, they are basically taught that they need to follow a certain path. And for a guy, and I went to a good school. I went to Lehigh.
Yeah, great school.
But most of the people that I know that are super famous, same thing. Like, maybe they didn't go to college, you know, or maybe they were like, I went to a local college or whatever, but they were always in the hustler mindset. They never had somebody who said like, no, you should follow the traditional route because you're going to make a lot of money. And a lot of money as an employee, for the most part, in most situations, is a lot different than a lot of money as an entrepreneur.
100%. I was making a lot of money before I left. Like, I want to like add that in, not as a brag. It's like, it was hard to leave. I was making a lot of money. Like, when I was having the conversation with my wife, I was like, so I'm going to leave this really good job that I have that's, you know, allowing us to do all these things. I will say though, I did liquidate a full year of expenses before I quit. I sold investments, did whatever. I opened a HELOC as a just in case, like before, you know, it's much easier when you have a W-2, just in case, have access to cash, like whatever. I did a bunch of that, and I took on investment. So I tried to de-risk it as much as I possibly could. There is no de-risking. And then I also had to have the conversation, hey, if we don't hit XYZ in 6 months, I'll go look for a job again.
Hey guys, Bobby Mascia here. I want to just take a second to thank everyone who's been tuning into Business Unchained since day one. You know, this community, it means a lot to me. And I'm super excited to finally be able to share a big project that I've been working on for some time now, which is my book, Unchained, the raw truth about entrepreneurship, family business, and life balance. It's part memoir, part roadmap, and it just dives deep into my story, the experiences, the mistakes, and the lessons that have shaped how I think about building a business and life. Everything I talk about on the show is rooted in that journey, and in the book, I dig that much deeper. Unchained's available now. Grab your copy through the link or the show notes, or head over to bobbymascia.com. I appreciate you all, and I'm now taking you back into the show. Thank you. So I'm glad you said you took on investment. I think one of the things that early founders and even people who start to grow, there's so much sexiness around getting money.
You're talking about the opposite. Yeah.
Talk about the opposite.
Okay.
Oh, we're going to go for series funding. We're through friends and family. You know, we're going to raise this capital. What was your mindset, or what were the opportunities that you were struggling with in terms of bootstrapping versus funding versus giving up equity? How has that played out for you?
I'm really happy you asked me this. I want to unpack this because it was a crazy journey. So first and foremost, I identified that I did have a capital constraint. This wasn't like I just want cash. And the cash that I took is not mine. It was business, but E-commerce is a very capital dependent business. Like you have to buy a ton of inventory and then you have to sell it for more. You can't scale unless you can buy more product to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So I identified like, okay, I definitely have a capital constraint. So checkbox number 1, I do need money. Now there's a bunch of different ways that I can get money. I can take on debt, I can go institutional, or I can try like a family and friends investor, whatever. I had a couple of conversations with VCs. They were reaching out to me, and no offense to VCs, maybe one day I'll talk to them, but I had a couple of conversations and I was like, fuck you. They were like telling me how I should be running my business. And like, I got on a call. This guy spent the 20 minutes telling me like how he was going to change things and whatnot. And he thought we were electrolytes 20 minutes into the call. So I was like, fuck you. It just so happened that through mutuals, I had a very wealthy individual that I was connected to that was also an investor. And when I was getting on the VC calls beforehand, I called him and asked his advice. Mm. And just the first call, he gives me advice. He's like, watch out for this, do this, this, this. And also like, how much are you looking for? And at the time, it was like, anywhere from like $500,000 to $1 million in that range. And he was like, what's $500,000? And then we hung up the phone. And then I had another VC conversation and I called him again and I was asking for his advice again. And at the end of the call, he's like, what's $500,000? And he hung up the phone. And I'm like, all right. So I have these 2 conversations and I'm like,
planted the seed, but he's not committing. Planted the seed, just not committing.
I call him after the third one. I'm like, you want in? He's like, obviously. What do you think? I was just kidding.
He wanted you to ask.
Yeah. And that's been the most incredible and lucky thing, I feel like, because this is a very, very wealthy individual, like about as wealthy as you can get. And to be able to talk to somebody like that all the time, like I spoke to him this morning, and we talk through things, and somebody with that much experience, like it's the biggest advantage. But at the same time, it makes me proud because I did something worthy of somebody like that investing in. Mm-hmm. Now to answer,
when you have that kind of money, you see things differently because you're not seeing things from, oh my God, I have to make this work. I'm giving this money. What happens if it doesn't turn into something? You start to look at the possibilities and the opportunities. So, when you say that, I'm just going to emphasize, like when you have somebody who's going to be giving you money, you have to look at how much of an impact is this going to make to their life? Because if that individual wasn't as wealthy, I'm sure the relationship would be a lot different.
Yes. Now I will say at the same time, you don't get there by being not being a great white shark, right? Like as a person, if he watches this, he knows because I say it to his face all the time, and he's like a great white shark, and I know I'm sitting in the Jones like this. Like, please be nice. But you make a good point that friends and family rounds, that's where it gets real ugly, I think, because somebody giving you $25,000 for friends and family round, that might be all they have. And if you don't have experience investing, you might not see that for 5 years, 6 years. Like this is a long journey. There's no guarantee of an exit.
And I'm sure a lot of his advice are additive to getting you to where you need to be versus the type of conversations you have with people who really can't afford it that starts to be taking away from the business.
Yeah, I didn't even entertain that, to be honest, because of what you said. And I know some people that did something like that, and it just looked super messy. Then the cap table gets messy too. There's so many people involved. This is just me and him. So it makes things really clean. And then you talked about like the equity versus not equity situation. In my head, I'd rather own a smaller piece of a much larger pie than a smaller pie, because not only is the upside, like it's an asymmetric bet, but also you get a big exit. Even if, I don't know, what if at the end of the day, I don't get that much money, but there's a huge number tied to the exit because of like preferred shares and whatnot. I'm still tied to that exit, and people will invest in me in the future. And now I have the skills, and I can say, I took something from idea to exit fully. This is the number that we got. I can do it again. So that was my vision of it.
Yeah. It's amazing how many phone calls you get when you go through that process. And then all of a sudden people want your advice. They want to know what you have to say.
There's one result that everyone wants, and it's that.
Yeah.
And I've been building this towards that too. The name of the company changed. I went from Ramp Health to the Outgoing Co. One of the things that I always knew was kind of important, but really started to be emphasized.
Well, you had a couple of issues in the naming. You want to kind of go through that a little bit too?
Yeah. So it's good memory that you remember that. I came up with the name Ramp Health. Funny enough, I was trying to build a software first on my own, and I wanted to call it On Ramped. It was supposed to be like a an aggregator for people that were onboarding at a new company to like
Mm-hmm.
pull in all the different things, the HR trainings and this and that, whatever, yada, yada. So I already like bought Ramp and a couple domains around it and whatnot. And then I switched to like wanting to do this supplement company. And I was like, Ramp, that's cool. Ramp
Yeah,
up
it
your,
works.
Ramp Health. It's good. So I did what everyone would do, really deep due diligence. I did one Google search and didn't find any Ramp Health. And I was like, perfect. We're
Done.
good. Got the domain. Perfect. That was October of 22. December of 22, I filed my LLC. I get it done. I launched that pre-sale that I talked about in April of 23. May of 23, a huge wellness coaching company rebrands to the name Ramp Health. They had been working on it behind the scenes for a year, but there was nothing public.
Right.
I didn't even know that you could do a PTO trademark search at the time. So I had common law rights technically. They had trademarks pending and it would have been like this ugly mess. And then on top of that, the multi-billion-dollar company Ramp, the fintech, they own a bunch of IP around Ramp.
Mm-hmm.
There's things I can't discuss, but I had some bad consultants I was working with on this and that went out the window. And then I finally realized like, oh shit, I have to do something here. So my options were hope for the best, hope nobody sues each other and we don't deal with this messy thing, or rebrand. So over like May of 25, I filed trademarks for the Outgoing Co, Audi, like all the stuff we got cleared. And I began the process of rebranding then. And I didn't push it live until December 25th on Christmas Day, sitting on my couch on my laptop. Like my son's here, everyone's around. I like pushed publish and like changed the name over of everything. But it took a really long time. However, getting back to why I'm bringing this up, exit value, IP is really important, right? Nobody's going to buy your business if you have messy IP. And again, we're talking about brand. Like if you have a local business, it's very different. But like talking about the game that I'm playing, like you want PE to buy you or whatever, like it has to be clean. You have to own the IP. There has to be no one like coming for you and whatnot.
And I think a lot of people, when they're getting into that bootstrap situation where they say, I want to start something, I need to see how it goes. That is one of the more important things that you need to be thinking about is how do I make sure, how do I do or get the right attorney or do the right due diligence so that this way I don't get hung up on something then in the future. And that's a great lesson for business owners to kind of follow, to say, holy shit, I DIY'd this. Did I DIY it the right way?
Yeah, no, I did not. The beauty is we have AI now, right? You can have your favorite LLM, the paid version. Don't use the free version, please. For love of God, pay the $20. They nerfed the free version, but you can help with the USPTO search. You can just go on Trademark or uspto.com/trademark search or whatever, and like do a quick level search and then hire an attorney. I will say this was my first foray into $1,000 an hour plus attorneys.
Oh yeah,
the bills hurt, but at the same time, it's a very different experience when you have like a real firm that's like doing all this stuff and like making sure the I's are dotted, international law, sending letters to people, infringing. Like it's just a very different thing.
it's hard.
It's hard, but it's also like, it feels like, mess with me.
Yeah, well, when you think about the stress that you went through on the other end of it, of having to do the cleanup, you feel a lot better about the process because you're like, now that whole exposure that I felt that I had, I now feel like that's been closed up and I'm bulletproof.
Yeah, and the thing too is like in America, someone can tie you up even if they don't win.
Oh yeah,
They could just have a similar name and be like, fuck you, I want to fight.
well, not even a similar name. We had Bennett Maxwell on, who was the founder of Dirty Dough. And this is the hysterical story, but terrible story at the same time. He was getting sued by Crumble because they said he stole their recipes. And he went on the offense because he was like, fucking, I can't afford to go through litigation. I'm going to go on offense. He bought a bunch of billboards, cookies so good, I'm getting sued for it. He was on local news being like, the Crumble suing me because it's, and all of a sudden, all the eyes and attention were on him for the right reasons.
That's a
and
smart
the eyes and
marketer
the
right there.
attentions were on them for the wrong reasons. And they luckily dropped their lawsuit, but that could have buried him on an accusation because they were competing in the same territory.
You said his name's Bennett?
Bennett Maxwell, yeah.
Good for you, Bennett. But that's like chef's kiss. Like that's a way to turn that and save that. I had someone I'm close to had a really messy trademark situation that I got to see on the other end.
Mm-hmm.
And I vicariously learned the lessons of trademarks. And I went, as soon as they were dealing with that, I started my own. And now we're good.
So let's get back into Outgoing and, let's talk about the brand. Let's talk about what it is you're doing, what the goals are of the company from who you're trying to help, how you're trying to get out there.
because I think that's a great story, and I think that it should be shared.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You ever been to Falberg in Montclair?
No.
It's like a cool senior restaurant. I went like a week and a half ago. So we take my mom for her birthday, and we're walking in, and I have my son and my mom, whatever. And I walk past a table of someone that's like our parents' age, two guys sitting there. And one of the guys goes to the other guy, "The kids aren't drinking anymore." Like it was like out of a movie. Like I heard him say it. And like, obviously I own a company like this, so my ears perk up, and I'm like, and like, have you seen the stats? Like, they're not drinking, and like the restaurant industry is in trouble. Restaurant industry is in trouble. Pro sports are somewhat in trouble too with this, but it kind of like 2.5 years of working on this and thinking about messaging and whatnot kind of crystallized for me. And in that moment, I got like a really good answer to what you just asked. And I'm going to have sparkling water, or I'm going to have a Diet Coke. I'm going to have a cocktail. I'm going to have a glass of wine. There's no in between. I want to make this.
And most of the in between that is available, like the mocktails, they're sweet as shit.
Yeah, or they have THC in them, and like there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone has their own thing. Have you guys heard of Kava? Kava is really popular. There's like Kava bars, but like it gives you like a numb mouthfeel, and it can make you kind of like comatose. So no one's kind of like figured it out, and I'm really trying my little butt off to figure out that third thing. I want, instead of a $3 soda or a $30 cocktail, maybe there's a $10 to $15 mocktail in between that can make you feel something and actually taste good and whatnot. And that's what we're going for. That's like the real vision moving forward.
And that is going to be something that is coming out of Wisconsin. And are you going to have a team that's going to be doing this with, like, how do you get into the restaurants? How do you get into, what's been your line of sight for that?
So I should add, we're on a multi-7-figure run rate, and we're targeting to get to an 8-figure run rate for this year. I'm saying that because I want to mention I have no employees. I do this all myself with AI and agencies, and I have 2 VAs in the Philippines that help me with customer service.
Oh, let's just peel that back a little bit.
I think that there's a new way to do things. I think that AI and VAs and the internet really allows it. Like, look at this. I don't have any employees, and I have my business to the size that it is. I'm going to have to eventually. Like, I can't avoid it forever, but keeping OpEx really lean lets us focus on scale really hard. The VAs are great. They speak perfect English. They're sweethearts. I love them to death. I give them Christmas bonuses and whatnot, but like, it's like $6, $7, $8 an hour to have somebody that works 40 to 60 hours a week. And
what are they doing for you? Customer
service right now.
Okay.
They're trained on all the normal things that come through, and any one-off cases they send to me, and I help them answer. It is a huge relief, and probably the first thing that I wanted to offload and delegate, because it's hard to keep faith in humanity when you have somebody that's like, it arrived 10 minutes late, I need a return. Like,
well, it's hard to keep faith in your business when you're constantly getting deflated.
You only see the negatives.
Right.
In customer service. You don't see any of the positives.
You only remember the negatives also.
Yeah.
You can see 50 positives, and all of a sudden one negative comes in, and you're like, ruin my fucking week.
Yeah. And it's just like some crazy person that wanted to hurt you or whatever. Like, whatever, But yeah, so that was the first thing that I wanted to delegate.
And it's not like a restaurant. There's, restaurant, you can, for the most part, you're gonna create the experience where you're anticipating that most people are going to give you a positive review.
Yeah.
When you're disconnected from that person who's going to be purchasing from you, you don't know what's going on in their world. You don't know what their affordability is. You don't know what their intentions are. And they just decide you know what, today I don't like it, and I'm going to take it out on Outgoing.
Yeah. And you should see the social media comments too. It's a wild world out there. But yeah, and then with AI, I have somebody who I gave some phantom equity to. So it's like an earn-out contract. And his job is full-time building AI tools for us. So we have a tool right now, without getting too much into the details, where it scrapes Reddit and all different areas of the internet to get angles and ideas for what people are saying. Mm-hmm. It will take those, and then it will feed them into another I don't want to explain it like agentic AI versus all this stuff, but like in the simplest terms, it takes those angles. It allows us to then also look at our competitors' ads. We can take the angle and their ad and create our own version with it. So we can make an image ad that's based on Reddit, 20 people were talking about how they're looking for an alcohol alternative. And then this other supplement brand has this ad that's got 10 million impressions on Meta, and it's crushing it. So we can make our own version of it with that angle. It knows about our copy. It knows about our product, and it spits it out for us automatically. And then we have certain words that we can use to make sure they're compliant and whatnot. And we're using that with also like doing some media buying as the act of like actually putting the campaigns live on Facebook and, deciding on what the budget is and who we're targeting and whatnot. So we're doing a lot of that with AI behind the scenes as well.
What are some of the things that you've learned through doing these, Facebook, Instagram, all of the social media marketing that people, like you said, sometimes you got to just try it, just go out and, fuck around and try it. And then there's some things where it's like, no, you can fuck around and try it. But these are the things that I've learned that if I can help to speed up your path of success, I'd love to kind of help you, give you these nuggets. What are some of the things that you've come across?
Sure. So first and foremost, I think that founder ads are the most valuable thing that anybody can do for their business and founder content because it's free, first off, right? I can just take my phone and do a little yappuccino and that could be an ad. The like highly polished, highly edited stuff, like there's a place for it, but that's not what converts the best. What converts the best is like Bobby in his car talking about how like you're getting hosed using Robinhood. Park your money here. Like that works better. Mm-hmm. It's more trustworthy and it's just you off the cuff talking about it. That works really well. Second of all, comments on your ads. That's a huge positive signal, even if it's negative, because that means that you're evoking emotion. For just as many people that are angry by it, they're really happy about it. It's just like politics, right? If I pick a side, left or right, for a conversation, 50% of people are going to be like, F you, and 50% will be like, hell yeah. Like that's a good signal. And then that also pushes it in the algorithm really well. Let's think of some.
So don't be afraid to be controversial.
Don't be afraid to be controversial. If you're selling something online, you do not do add to buy now. Landing pages are one of the most important, if not the most important thing. That was the biggest unlock for our business, was switching from an ad right to the buy now product page to having a landing page in between. It doesn't matter what you're selling. You're selling a service, you're selling whatever. There needs to be some additional selling because I don't want to get into like funnel stages and whatnot, but somebody is not fully sold just because they saw an ad. Maybe they're intrigued. You saw the Outgoing, you're like, oh, alcohol alternatives, that's cool. But what the fuck is that?
Yeah. You're peeking through the window.
So you got to give them more.
You haven't walked in the shop yet.
These are the ingredients. This is what they do. This is how it works. If you're really interested in it, you can click here to find out more. This is how we third-party test. Oh, by the way, if you want to actually buy, you can click here and go. That increased our convert. You're laughing, but like that was, we hit our first 100K month when we started doing that. And then it's gone up from there. But those were the things that were like huge unlocks for us.
I laugh because it's sometimes these just small tweaks, these nuances that
it's so silly.
Change the game.
You could do the color, change the color of something, and it works 10 times better. Like the last bit to answer the question is iteration. Everything needs to be iterated on. Everything needs to be tested. And if you can, control and only test for one factor at a time. So
so when you do that, do you have AI that's helping you to say, you know what, instead of using orange, use purple? Because here we've scraped and we've found that more interactions have happened with purple than with orange, or
I mean, we're using data. Like we're working on having the AI integrate and like do it on the fly. Like that's in process. But right now it's just looking at data and doing the tests ourselves manually, like using AI to help. A lot of people are doing that. But just right now for us, like we want a little bit more control. Like I said, you want to keep it to one factor though. Like that's the most important thing. The easiest example would say, let's say we have a really good script and a really good angle for an ad. I want an older gentleman, a young, really attractive female, someone middle-aged, like different races, different genders, like all this stuff, like same exact ad. I want to see if a different person saying it or a different accent or whatever works better. And then, okay, we figured that out. Now we can change the hook and we can try the 5 different hooks with that person that it worked better. Like you don't want to change the hook, the angle, the scene, the person, because then you don't know what the hell worked.
Right.
So it's just trying to keep it. Yeah.
Now, do you feel like you have a pretty good formula for that, or you feel like you're always reiterating still with every ad? I
like to constantly be in a state of I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But all jokes aside, like on paper, the numbers look really good right now, and we're growing. And we have the angles at work. We're getting like really good click-through rates and whatnot. But we're still always just iterating and trying more. So it's a right now it's a very even split of like these work, let's double down, but also continue to test.
Interesting. So if you were to leave this podcast and on the other end, there's somebody who's going, I wish this guy would give me like 3 solid tips that would make me feel so much better about either A, starting this thing, or B, getting it to the next level. What would those be?
Marketing is the most important thing. it's probably 90% of any business for, especially, I'm only going to talk about online business because that's what I know. I'm not going to talk about brick and mortar, but it's like 90%. The other 10% is all pretty Googleable, pretty YouTubeable. So like you're worried about contacting a manufacturer or doing that, like ChatGPT can help you with that. You really don't need to worry about that. The hard part is the marketing. So make sure that you don't throw that out. Like every single person I talk to underestimates how hard it is to make a random person go and buy your stuff. Like the first and foremost, marketing is everything. Second of all, don't set an arbitrary timeline on yourself. You want it to work, especially if you're working full time, you have a family, like you have kids, you have, all obligations. Just set it where like, I'm going to do one thing every day. That's how I did it. I was like, all right, today I'm going to work on the website for a half hour. And I was working at like 11 o'clock at night, when the house was quiet. Or today I'm going to make my social media post for the week or whatever. And just like, as long as I kick the ball down the field a little bit every single day, eventually you get to a point where as long as you don't quit and you don't make any stupid mistakes, like it will work.
It's like the adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. I know it sounds so corny, but it's true. Like, these are like the things that I did in practice.
Because otherwise it's anxiety driving. You think about all the things that you need to do, and it takes away from you doing just the one thing that will get you to the next thing and the next thing, which ends up with completion at some point. So I love that. Keep going.
I think that platform is where all the founders and all the people talking about this stuff are. And I think if you're just a regular person, like, and you, like, if I say AI to you and your immediate thought is just the free version of ChatGPT saying how many elephants are in the Bronx Zoo, that's good, but you're not even 1/100th of the way there, like to the cutting edge. The people on X are the ones talking about like having 5 different agents running on your computer at the same time. And one is, setting your appointments and this and that. Like there's an in between, but I think you should get on X and just absorb that. You don't have to make content, but you can absorb that and start following the right people in your space. And then last but not least, the exact opposite of what I just said, you need to make content. If you want to sell something online, if you don't want to do it yourself, that's fine, but you need to find a way to have content made. And if you're just starting, it's the best time to show somebody that you're like, I'm going to make strawberry Pellegrino or strawberry sparkling water, and show how you're like taste testing. Like people love to see that. If you can record the journey and use that to start marketing for free on TikTok or on Instagram, you'll be very thankful a year from now that you did that.
So who's buying Outgoing? Why are they buying it? And where do they find you?
Most of our customers are 25 to 40 years old, 45 years old. It's basically like millennials and Gen X. It seems that the majority are looking for something as an alternative to alcohol or slowing down. I actually don't think health is a top reason, but that's for another time. You can find us on Amazon. You can find us at the outgoing.co. We're also the Outgoing Co, one word, on all social media platforms if you want to follow us there. One last thing I want to say. So Bobby and I were introduced by a mutual, and after the first time we hung out, we texted each other and we were like, I don't want to be weird, but like we're friends already, right? Like we like each other, right? Like, I don't want to be weird, but I think we're friends. Thanks for having me, guys.
I appreciate you, brother, and I love
100%.
being on this journey with you. And I'm looking forward to, what's the multiple we're looking at?
I don't know.
A $200 billion exit. Let's do it.
If I throw my phone in the ocean and I get a flip phone, there's just no I made it. So right now, the only product like at the time of recording this is Audi. It's the alcohol alternative powder. This week we have the canned version dropping. And then also, so I had actually started a second company. You actually have a hat over there for Arenza. That was a nicotine harm reduction product, I guess you would call it, like for people who are zinning or vaping to recover nutrients. We decided as a group, like my investor and my advisors and whatnot, that it was best if we put it all under one roof. So that product is also going to come, it'll be relaunched within the month. And that's like a daily for anyone who uses nicotine to just replenish the nutrients burned from nicotine usage and make it a little bit healthier. At the end of the day,
what does that product look like?
It's 2 capsules of a daily multivitamin, but like not just a multivitamin. Like we put a little bit of lithium in there for mood, and people are lithium deficient and like things like that. Like really, really good ingredients that will genuinely make you feel better if you're using nicotine, fight that afternoon fatigue. You'll just feel better if you're using nicotine and taking our product.
Okay. And then from the 2 products that you have out, little bit of a look and feel and taste, like somebody who's looking to buy this, what are they going to experience?
So a nootropic is like, can easily be described as like a brain drug, right? Or like a brain compound. It works on similar parts of the brain as like maybe some pharmaceuticals or whatnot, but these are like over the counter ingredients that you can just go buy individually on Amazon or whatever.
Yeah, like mood enhancing stuff.
They exist. Like L-theanine is a really popular one that people know. So we took 10 of them and we made a formula that the state that it induces is supposed to be like a happy euphoria. There's no stimulant in it though, but there is a wakefulness agent in rhodiola rosea. But the point is just, we wanted to make like, how do you feel when you have 2 drinks? You're like a little bit giddier, you're happy, a little inhibitions are down.
Loose,
yeah, a little looser, just a little bit more
down.
willing. And also like, I'm a very, very ADHD person, if you couldn't tell from this hour of recording. It quiets the monkey mind a little bit too. We put a little bit of focus in there. So the point is just to induce a really good state without any of the negatives of like having a hangover and also there's no calories in it.
What are the flavors? What does it taste like?
Right now we just have one. It's acai berry.
Mm-hmm.
And funny enough, remember Smarties candy?
Yeah.
It tastes almost exactly like a Smarties.
Oh, really? That's not bad. That sounds good.
The raw ingredients are really tart and we had to do our best to cover them.
Okay.
Without, putting as many additives as, we tried to keep it as healthy as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the can, we're launching with just cherry lime.
Not a good flavor.
I can't tell you how good it is. Like I drank all the samples to the point where people were mad because they were like, they wanted to try it. And I like drank all the sample cans. I'm really, really excited for how good it is. And that's like a really flavor forward product.
And those come out this month.
Thursday, 2 days from now, the run of the cans is going
Okay,
first.
so by the time this is live, it is available. You can go to Amazon.
Or no, it'll probably be available just on the website to start on the outgoing.co. And Yapper is what it's called. And they'll be able to, or anyone watching will be able to buy it.
Oh my God, I can't get these people to shut up as it is. You're gonna give them more Yapper?
I'm giving the Yappers Yapper. Yeah, exactly.
Hey guys, Bobby Mascia here. If you've been listening to Business Unchained, you know we're creating conversations that matter. Real stories and strategies to help business owners and entrepreneurs win. We've been putting a lot of work into these episodes in our online community, bringing you content that can actually move the needle for your business. And we're everywhere. Instagram, LinkedIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, TikTok, you name it, we're there. So look, if you're getting value from what we're doing, please follow, subscribe, and drop a quick comment or like. It really helps us grow this thing. Just search Business Unchained and you'll find us everywhere.